You are knowing what you're wanting. You are appreciating the contrast of your time and place. It is always fun to ask that question at the beginning of a gathering, because it gives us an opportunity to evaluate the alignment with your words and vibration. Because very often, when there is not much contrast, we hear a resounding yes from you. Oh, yes, contrast is a good thing. But when there is greater contrast, it is harder for you to agree wholeheartedly to the wondrous nature of it. Because it seems, and it is logical, isn't it, that when you are looking at things that make you feel good, you do feel good. And when you are looking at things that are, by your opinion, inappropriate, which causes a feeling of negative emotion to rise within you, it is logical then that you would begin to say, we need to get rid of those things that make us feel bad. And when we get rid of those things that make us feel bad, then we will be able to feel good. And while we certainly understand that logic, there are a number of things about that approach that we've noticed. First, it is illogical because you could not rid yourself of all things unwanted. It would be a very long wait to feel good. Because there are so many others who are believing differently, even desiring differently, preferring differently. And so then you argue, as you find yourselves doing, even on a world scope, about whose idea of what is good gets to be the one that everyone agrees with. And so, after a lot of experience as human beings here in this time-space reality, we think that it might be a good idea for you to give up on that one. Give up on the idea of getting everyone to agree with you about what is appropriate, and begin to understand that the nature of this universe is not one of exclusion anyway. This is a universe that's based upon attraction. And when you discover that personally, then you are relieved of the burden of trying to control the way others behave in order for you to feel good. You get to skip over all of that, and you just get to feel good. Because you discover that feeling good is about aligning yourself with your desire. It's not about figuring out what anybody else should be doing. It's not about controlling the circumstances and events around you. It is only about you becoming a vibrational match to your own desire. And when you are a vibrational match to your own desire, then that desire and you, which are in the same place, are then coming together. It is a wonderful thing. Some of you have been listening to us for a while, and some of you have been practicing the science of deliberate creation or the art of allowing fervently. Some of you are becoming very, very, very good at it. And today, it is our expectation that we will take this topic to a whole new level. It is our expectation that together we will discover not only some processes that will assist you, but some understanding of the basics of the laws. We want you to begin accepting that you are vibrational beings, that everything is. So as you stand in any point in time, you are an emitter of vibration. Now, you are multifaceted. You think many different thoughts. There are many topics upon your mind. There are many subjects in your life. There are many people that you could focus upon, or events that you could focus upon or remember. You can focus in your present, or you can remember in your past, or you can imagine in your future. You can look in your own life experience, or you can broaden your gaze to the expanse around you. You can look into the television world, or into the movie world, or into the neighborhood, or into the worldview. In other words, there are so many places that you can look, and in every place that you choose, in that which you see, or in that which you perceive, we might even use perception as like a sixth sense. You see, which is vibrational interpretation. You hear, which is vibrational interpretation. You smell, you taste, you feel with your fingertips. You perceive, which is vibrational interpretation. So as you are perceiving out into this world, the dominant vibration within you, it's really a key word. The dominant vibration within you is your strongest point of attraction. As Esther sat to quiet her mind today, to allow Abraham to flow through her. She always sits and focuses upon something mindless, knowing that if she can quiet her mind, her vibration from whatever point it is at will raise some. And it is always her objective to be in the place of least resistance so that the vibration that is Abraham can flow through her in the most non-resisted way. So she sat to quiet her mind. A thought kept coming back into her mind. And she focused upon the tone in the air conditioner. That usually works. And then she focused upon an om that she offered herself. And while she was able to quiet her mind here and there, her thought kept going back, going back, going back. And so she said, I think I will have a chat with Abraham, because it was of interest to her that her mind kept going back to the same thought. And we said to her, Esther, your mind is returning to the dominant thought within you. Which is logical, isn't it? But it was particularly interesting to Esther because she knew why that dominant thought was there. It was a thought that she'd been focused upon all day yesterday. And as she had focused upon this thought all day yesterday, she had activated it to a pretty strong vibration. So today, as she is attempting to quiet her mind, it was not difficult for her to sift out which thought it was. I'm going to tease Jerry just a little bit here because it comes back to the idea of the dominant thought that Esther kept coming around to. As they were traveling yesterday, coming from Southern California here, they stopped for a fuel stop, and at the fuel stop, Jerry checked the oil in the monster bus. And it needed a little, or so he thought, and so he added a little oil. It doesn't please him very much because they have not put the oil fill in this monster bus in an easy-to-reach place. And Jerry is the person that has become famous in that he can garden in white clothes and never get dirty, and here he is trying to keep from getting oil all over everything. And so he goes through quite a few contortions in order to make that the perfect oil-filling experience. And completes it, and then they drive. And then further down the road, they stop. And when they walk around the rig, as they often do, Jerry notices that there is oil all over the tow car, and all over the hitch, and all over the back of the motorhome. You know, that oil that he was wanting so much not to get anywhere was everywhere. And then he realized that he had not replaced the oil fill cap. So he checked the oil, and there was still some in there. In fact, most of it was still in there. Only enough to make a really big mess had gotten out. And then they did not know what to do. They wanted to come here to see you, but it doesn't seem right to drive with an oil spray happening behind you. And so they called to see if they could locate one, and the closest oil fill cap was 247 miles from where they were. The mechanic said that there is not pressure in this contraption, but it is an oil fill cap that screws in, so there is no lip whatsoever on the top of it. And so now Jerry and Esther are looking all around in the motorhome to try to find something creative that they can plug this hole with. Esther loves this. But they're not sure how hot it gets, will it melt, and they're not sure exactly what they're doing about it. And so Esther brings this, and then this, and then this, and then this, and they try this, and they try this, and nothing is working. And so Esther is looking through a drawer, and she finds a brass coupling for a hose connection, very heavy piece of brass, and she is thinking, this looks to be just about the right size. And because it is heavy, it may sit in there pretty good. And then she has pictures of it flying around in the engine and playing with the belts. And so she brings it to Jerry, and Jerry praises her profoundly. This is the perfect thing to plug this hole. And so he said, let me try it. So he takes the hose coupling and holds it in the hole, and Esther was right, and so was Jerry. It fits perfectly. It just needs a little cork in one part to keep the oil from spewing out through there, and maybe a little duct tape around the edge to make it fit just exactly right, and maybe some wires to hold it so that if it does fall out, it won't get into the engine. And they're all very excited. Esther said, it seems to me that this is why they call this jerry-rigging. Then Jerry, holding it over the oil field hole one last time, lifts it up, and the coupling disengages, and the smaller part falls in the oil. And Esther says to Jerry, your life as you have known it is over. Because now they have a piece of brass in the crankcase. And Esther envisions tow trucks towing them to see you. And then Esther goes inside and says, I'll bring a mirror and a hanger, and maybe we can see it. So she brings a mirror out, and they position it, and wouldn't you know, they can see it. Just out of finger-reaching range. And so for about a half an hour, they talk to each other about how important it is to get it the first time. Because while they can see it sitting there, it is on a precarious ledge, and who knows where it will go if they don't get it the first time. So they talk to each other about who is the one most likely to get it. And Esther is thinking, probably me, my fingers are smaller. And so once everything is cool enough, Esther stands on a stool, and Jerry holds the mirror, and she reaches as far as she can with her fingers deep into the oil and feels it with her fingers, and manages to pinch the lip between two fingers and gingerly pull it out. Right. That's the way they felt. Yeah. Like brain surgery gone well. And so this morning, as Esther was meditating, that's what was on her mind. In other words, she kept coming back to different parts of the story. She could not get it out of her mind because they laughed about it, they talked about it, they retraced their steps, they stopped on the way and picked up 2 new oil field caps. Esther said to Jerry, get 2, and he said, we'll only need 1 because if it ever happens again, I'll take my own life. And Esther said, but if you take your own life, I'll still need the cap. There is so much that we want to give you about all of that, and we will all day, because we're wanting you to realize that there is so much life-giving stuff in situations that when you think about it, you think you would not like to have. We have to say to you that it was one of the better days they've had in terms of ingenuity, in terms of ideas coming forth, in terms of working together, in terms of successful outcomes, in terms of adventure, which is sort of the reason that you came forth into these physical experiences. You did not come forth saying, well, let's go forth and have everything always be exactly the same so that we know exactly how every day will unfold, so nothing new will ever be called forth from us. You did not say, we'll come forth into these physical experience and there will be no contrast, therefore there will be no new ideas, therefore there will be no new innovation. When Esther got into the bathtub this morning, the plug came out in her hand and she said, that would have worked perfectly. That's exactly what I needed. If only I'd had that, it would have been so much faster.